All right, welcome back everybody to the Magic Library. I'm here joined with Mr. DuckHats. Now, you are a fantastic Grand Archive player. I've watched a lot of your games coming through before Worlds, into Worlds, and now kind of seeing what you're going to be doing after Worlds, going into the MRC meta. I'm really honored to have you on the channel, and thank you so much for spending time here. So if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm DuckHats, or Christian. And I've been playing Grand Archive since retail release for with Alter. And as far as my Grand Archive accomplishments go, yeah, it's multi-star championship winner. Topped Ascent Ontario, got 7th, and won U.S. Nationals.
Yeah, winning U.S. Nationals is crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And despite all of that, fun fact, I have never topped a regional.
You've never topped a regional? How many regionals have you played?
I've never topped a regional. I've been in 3. I've done 1 online and 2 in California.
That's crazy. I feel like winning a store champs is way harder than like topping a regional.
I know, right?
That's
it's only the first place, right? But then, I do the regional, like the very first one, we didn't hit threshold to get top 8, so I get top 8, but they only get prizing to top 4. So
it's really doomed. It's doomed. Should be better now though, right? Like your locale has a lot more players, and I noticed a lot of the SoCal guys like to drive up for your guys' regionals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they came up for the last one, and I did not do so well that one.
You were playing Wind Diana, right?
Yeah, I was on Wind Diana, but I drew the wrong half of my deck and did not go so good.
It really do be like that sometimes. But yeah, so if you guys haven't had the chance to check out Mr. DuckHats, I'll put some links to some of the Lexera's map performances that we've seen. Obviously, you winning U.S. Nationals is massive. That's like, I mean, people were like, "Oh, DuckHats, that guy's really good," and then you beating everyone was like, "Whoa, he's actually like really good."
Yeah, it was pretty unexpected actually, because I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to play Matt again, because I played him in Swiss and I got 2-0'd, so I'm like, oh, this is not gonna go good. Not gonna go good.
Playing Matt Erupting G is it's a feat. It's hard. Like, sure, you have the advantage because you're on water, but then you're also like, oh, but it's Matt. Matt's so good.
Yeah, it's Matt.
You're like, I'll fracturize my lantern, but what if he draws the out? Yeah, it's definitely one of those tough ones. So I have you on the channel today because I wanted to talk about a couple things. So the big one I want to talk about is what it's like to prepare for Worlds, what it's like to play in your locale, what kind of things that you do to set up for store championships, ascents, anything like this. But another really big reason I wanted you on the channel was because you played in the World Championships. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to day 2, but you topped the 3v3 event. If I recall, was it with Limelight and Caben?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now that is a pretty cool feat to be like, yeah, I was playing the World Champs, and then I was like, I'm just gonna go play the 3v3 and just absolutely stomp everybody.
Yeah, Lime and I scrubbed out, and then we were looking for a third, and Limelight really wanted someone who had cards. Well, Caven, kind of a dealer, has all the cards.
True.
Also a good player, but caveat was he top 8'd, so we took on our team anyways, and the plan was he would, because he was first seed, he got to pick his time slot for Worlds. So he would go first thing in the morning and then join us for the rest of the 3v3 event. So we had to play without him. So ideally we'd only be like one match without him. Unfortunately, he took a little bit longer, so we had to go 2 matches without him.
Yeah, it was a pretty long game. Yeah. I had the pleasure of, I think I casted. No, I didn't cast that game. I casted the game after, but I was watching the game. I was like, oh my god, this is a long game.
But yeah, fortunately, it wouldn't matter either way. We won our first match, and then our second match, both Lime and I lost.
Oh, dude.
So yeah, so
that's not bad though.
We didn't need him for those. Yeah.
Being able to win 2v3 is incredible because the pressure is so much higher, right? Like you have to win both matches to be able to keep going forward. Yeah. Well, I digress. So we'll get into that a little bit later. The first thing I want to talk about is kind of like what it's like to prepare for Worlds. Like you're a Worlds competitor. I want to talk about like your history in TCGs. Have you played other TCGs? Do you have a lot of competitive experience in playing at like Nationals or Worlds or anything like that?
I'd say for Grand Archive, it's probably my first time playing at any TCG at a high level. I've played Magic for the better part of a decade. Starting back in like the OG Mirrodin. Um, and yeah, I never really got into that competitively because I got into that in like what, middle school,
Yeah.
and then yeah, like I'm not flying anywhere. Uh, so yeah, that's yeah, that's my history with TCG. That's pretty much the only one I've played. Um, yeah, other than Grand Archive.
That's pretty cool because I think a lot of people have been saying like Grand Archive is my first competitive TCG. Like for me as well. Like I played a little bit of Commander with my friends here and there, like maybe a couple games a year, but I never really got into playing trading card games. But like I saw Grand Archive and I was like, wow, this game's fantastic. So got into it, started playing it more, and I guess a lot more of us are in that similar boat than people would expect. Like most people look at like good players and they're like, oh, they must have been playing like Magic and One Piece and Yu-Gi-Oh for like decades.
Yeah, no, it's Grand Archive took a lot from Magic when I learned to play. I was like, oh, I understand all these things. Makes a lot of sense. Other than the part where we have like a million combat phases, but yeah, other than that.
True. Every combat phase is a new phase.
Yeah,
In main
there's
phase
gonna be a
is
lot of
never stops.
a lot of flexibility though. I appreciated that.
Hmm. It's definitely it has a lot of cool aspects that make it relatable, but it also has a lot of its own complexity, which makes the game more interesting in a sense. I think
Mm.
there's a really, really high skill ceiling to the game, but the entry to the game is still like reasonable, right? Like people can get into the game and play it casually, which makes it good.
Yeah, even more so with these new recollection decks. Yeah, even just yesterday, had a number of new people showing up at my locals, and they're rocking the Sylvia deck and they're taking matches.
Yeah,
So
people getting slimed.
yeah.
Getting slimed is like a real thing. I mean, you guys saw it. Lexera's map. It was Rye, 5 Sylvies. That's basically 6 Ryes, right?
Kind of.
The Arcade Blast is strong. Storm Slime is strong. Yeah. So you mentioned like at your locals and stuff. I believe it's kind of well known that like your locals is kind of stacked. Or you guys have a lot of pretty good players up there in NorCal.
You could say that, yeah. Our, we're kind of spread out, so sometimes the talent's a little spread out. Like Shawn who came second in Worlds down in San Jose. I'm more up north.
Oh,
So
I see. I see. Yeah.
yeah, so it's still like an hour between like me and San Jose. We tend people up here tend to not make the drive down that often.
I guess that makes
But we'll
sense. It is pretty
occasionally
far.
yeah, we'll occasionally split the difference and we'll meet up at in Berkeley. Um, and then yeah, then we'll all get together, and then it's maybe a little stacked.
Definitely. I mean, even like less well known players like Gwyn, for example. I
Mm.
have known Gwyn for a long time via Twitch. We used to play mobile games together, so it's really interesting seeing like, oh wow, this guy plays Grand Archive. It's like we reconnect over that, and to realize like, wow, this guy's actually a pretty good player too. It's
Yeah,
kind of
kind of
cool. I mean, like you guys have you, Shawn, Gwyn, like Remetic is up there. There's a lot of like decently good players up in I guess not even just NorCal. NorCal and SoCal has a lot of really good players.
Mm. Yeah, so SoCal too. Had the pleasure of meeting a lot of them. They're all very good.
That's where I tend to play. I fly into SoCal and just hang out with my friends, and I'm like, let's play Grand Archive, guys. Yeah. So like leading into your experience with Worlds, like how did you go about preparing for Worlds? Deciding on deck lists, practicing for different things. Obviously, I feel like you probably didn't practice for 3v3 at all. It was probably like just focus on Worlds. 3v3 is just like an extra idea.
Yeah. When it came to prepping for a world, I think it happened that it's like both Shawn and I kind of like talking kind of like friends, not quite friends yet at Ontario. Like we both managed to top 8. Okay, it's awesome. We're both competitive, and then we get to nationals and we top 8 again. I'm like, oh, well, we are both having to go to Worlds. How about we like team up on this one and let's work to prep for this. And he's like, okay. So yeah, we just started testing together. Um, I think we were running through a couple of ideas to prep, um, and then just kind of looking at the meta, the other national results, and trying to guess what people are going to play, and based on that, I would make a meta call. I was like kind of right, not entirely right.
So you made the decision, like the final decision on the deck that both of you guys were gonna play.
I had the idea, but if you tell Shawn to play Rye, he's gonna play Rye. So.
Yeah, I mean he's like OG Rye player, right?
Yeah, so I only had to say Rye. I didn't have to say anything else. He's like, okay, done.
Easy.
Yeah.
True. So what about you? What are your experiences with Rye? Is that like a champion that you are well versed with? Is it something you enjoy playing?
I wasn't too familiar. But like for my first starter deck, my first starter deck was Rye. Like it's how I kind of started learning the game. Well, not counting the demo decks, of course. Like my first starter, and then from there, yeah, I just didn't really play a whole lot of Rye. I think people mostly know me for playing some kind of allies or something. But yeah, I once I was kind of like honing in on it, then I would take it to some locals and I'd practice, of course, with Shawn and some other people. And yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good about the pick ultimately because Shawn got second with it. Like we ran the exact same list.
I totally agree. I think that Arcane Rye was actually one of the best picks that I think anyone could have gone with. I think the only thing from a personal perspective that I would have liked to have seen, I would have liked to have seen a Water Diana Allies. I think it could have done very well at Worlds, just because of the way Water maneuvers, and then Diana being Diana has so much like burst potential.
Yeah. Some kind of Diana was also up for consideration. I ultimately didn't want to run allies because I was expecting a little bit more Serene Luxem.
Whoa, true.
And I'd also seen like what some of the other guys are doing, and they're putting in like 7-8 fogs.
Yeah,
like,
no, I mean they're running a lot.
I don't.
Of fogs.
This is they're just hunting me, so I don't think it's the way I want to go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people design their decks knowing that they'd be playing against, like, I mean, it's you and Cayman are probably the most well known like allies players in that field. Manny was decently well known for it, but a lot of people also didn't necessarily like know a lot about Manny. And then for Alec, it was kind of like Alec's probably gonna play Wind Allies, but like he could really do whatever. So it was really interesting, like seeing how everyone designed the deck based on like who they thought they were gonna play against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not expected Caven to jump to Rye, much less Cactus. Although apparently Cactus was going on about.
Okay, well, so Cactus had been telling everyone I'm playing Rye for months, and obviously because Cactus is such a troll, everyone's like, "There's no way he's playing Rye, right?" And lo and behold, he was playing Rye.
I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, I don't regret picking it. I might not have done great, but Shawn did great, and that's a win.
Yeah. So when you look at the deck list, both of you guys, you play the same deck list. When it came to actually creating the deck list and working on like each of the ratios, which cards to put in, unique cards and stuff like that, were you more in the pilot seat for that, or was it more Shawn, or would you say it was like pretty equal? Because like the most noticeable thing between your decks and everyone else's decks, Gloomspire, Black Market.
I think it's a mix of both. I think Shawn came up with most of the final list, but like for some of the general picks, it came down to also experience. Because I had noticed whenever I'd play a lot of games against Rye, especially with Gloomspire, and it was just like whenever Rye got Gloomspire, it was hard to lose, in certain matchups. It was you ran away with the game.
Yeah, I mean it's such a good early advantage, right? Turn 1 Gloomspire, great.
Yeah, and then it kind of came to figure out later that in the mirror, I kind of don't want it, but otherwise, yeah, you see a turn 1, it mostly doesn't matter. Just start feeding your opponent's cards because it won't matter when you go for your kill turn.
Yeah, makes sense. I think in ALC meta or ALC format, like that really worked like super well, right? We didn't have cards like Stifling Trap. We didn't have cards like Incapacitate. We had a lot less ways to negate and kind of deal with our opponents just going rampant, playing solitaire on their own. So I mean, it was a great deck. I think you guys had an absolutely fantastic deck. When I look at the Worlds decks, I always look back to that one, and I think that was a fantastic deck. Um, yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. It was a fantastic deck. I think it was a great call for the room. So big shout out to you guys for that one.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was cool to have both of our experiences kind of come together in that one. Like I would have never picked up on like Quicksilver book, for example.
Yeah. I mean, controlled
And
banishment
then
is like such a neat concept, right? I mean, people have taken that, watching you guys do that, and they're like, wait, we can do that with Sylvie.
mhm. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that one spread. I'm glad to see GCR maybe get dethroned a bit.
It's actually crazy. Okay, so as of today, I actually did a market watch earlier today because someone was asking about singles. Quicksilver Grail is $50 right now.
It's 50 now.
It is
Last
more
I heard it was
expensive.
30.
So it sold for 35 2 days ago, and there's none listed below 50 today, which makes it higher price than GCR now.
Wow.
Temporal Spectrometer is also higher price than GCR now too.
Okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But
It's kind of neat to see that like the prices of cards are going up because there's so many people who want to play the game that are just buying cards. Like
yeah,
before Worlds, I think the highest Omnidex number was like in the low 5Ks. Now we have people in like the mid to high 6Ks now, and it's only been like a month.
Yeah, super exciting. Like I do hear some grumblings though about the prices of cards, and I hope that something can be done for affordability. But
yeah, you heard this here, Weaves. You heard this from your Nats winner, World's competitor. The price of cards, guys, is getting a little out of hand.
For some cards, but for others, like it's a careful balance. You want to be able to open a box, and you want to be able to be happy with, not even the URs, like the SRs, the foils, the occasional rare. Although I don't think we've had a valuable rare in a bit. But
I think the only valuable rare I can think of is probably Backup Charger.
Yeah.
And then most of the valuable rares actually come from starter decks, like Bulwark Sword and like Prototype Pistol and stuff like that. Like those are like $4 or $5 cards now, which I guess is a good thing because it means like starter decks have more inherent value than just open them and play the game.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. Like unique card and starter decks. Like on the one hand, it's great. You get a play set of everything you need in a starter deck. I'm glad they're sticking to that. Like I only need to buy one. On the other hand, I have to buy one.
I have to. Yeah, it's yeah. Mixed feelings is probably the best way to put that. Yeah, let's so going back to like that Rye list and stuff. Walk me through like what your experiences were actually like getting to the hotel, setting up for Worlds. Like how were you feeling like the day before Worlds, all that stuff? Because we got the chance to meet everyone. The staff met you guys met the staff, you guys got to meet all of each other, hang out and kind of see things.
Yeah, I think I was still pretty nervous. Like I had played a lot of Rye leading up to it, or at least I thought enough. Maybe not enough, but I played a lot, and the only thing I was not confident with was the mirror. Like I was very not confident with the mirror, and then lo and behold, we have
It was a lot of
other Ryes in the room, right? Yeah, I'm like, oh shoot.
There was what, 6 Ryes in total?
Five.
It was you and you and Shawn, Cactus, Cabin, and Korax. Yeah, and Korax.
And I'd end up running into Cabin and Korax and Swiss and losing both. So yeah, fear is not unwarranted.
It's a hard matchup. It's a hard matchup to navigate for sure.
Of course, like I drew like pretty mediocrely, and then I remember in a game against Korax, he had like the absolute nuts. Like he in one of our games, he had this one. If I recall his list, he only had like one Advent of the Stormcaller, and he like goes all in and storm calls for only 9. Like kind of tame, right? And then he finds like 2 Careful Studies and 7 Arcane. He's like, wow, this never happens.
Well, that's crazy. Let me just banish 7 Arcane, go to level 16, and then Careful Study twice. Oh my lord.
It was pretty good. Pretty good.
Wow. That's yeah. I mean, card games be like that. Sometimes you just draw the nuts. Sometimes you open 6 Crux. You put all 6 to the bottom, and you open 6 more Crux.
Yeah, tournament side, like Vegas experience. It was yeah, it was not bad getting here, or not getting here, getting to Vegas. I'm not in Vegas right now. Short flight from California, like 2 hours tops. Um, ran into Lee at the airport. He happened to be on my flight.
Whoa,
Um,
that's convenient.
yeah, yeah. So got to go with him over to the hotel, and Flamingo was it was fine. It was fine. I think it's the oldest casino on the strip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So sure, it leaves a little bit to be desired in some aspects, but like for the venue itself for Worlds, it was amazing. Like A+.
Yeah, the venue is fantastic. It was a lot. It was a lot, but
Yeah.
it also sectioned itself off really well. Like there was enough space to do everything. It didn't feel like a really hot, sweaty box the whole day.
Oh yeah, there was so much space. A lot of stuff to see. I think having the giant slime just like in the photo section
Mm-hmm.
was an awesome idea. And then yeah, we still had vendors in the room. Like I had been to a couple like Magic, or, like regionals, I guess, or some of their or Grand Prix back in the day. And I remember the rooms would always be surrounded with vendors, so it was
Yeah,
cool
just
to see
vendors
that kind
everywhere.
of vibe starting up here.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool having like the artists in one section. There was and the vendors over there, and then it was like in the middle was all like the casting stuff, and then there was all gameplay out over where it was definitely a cool
Mhm.
venue. Vegas on Worlds were pretty cool. So in terms of like playing in when you saw everyone's deck lists the night before, how did you feel about that right away?
Um, it was yeah. Other than like the Rymira part, I think everything else was surprisingly fine. Like I didn't feel too concerned about some of those. I was surprised to see Matt and Burner switch over to Windcrux. I feel that match was pretty good. And like we were all just ready to give Matt the free erupting win, so I don't know why he switched.
Yeah, it's crazy too because like if he had played erupting into all of that, it would have been pretty hard for most people, I think.
Yeah, I think everyone was just like, we're not gonna we're not gonna respect it, or maybe we will, but not to an extreme.
Mhm. I mean, we saw what one nullifying lantern in main, and then
Mhm.
and then one person didn't even run nullifying lantern at all.
Yeah,
Like, whoa.
but
I guess maybe everyone made the right
other-
call, right? Everyone assumed that Matt wouldn't play erupting because of because he's so well known for it. So I guess it's
oh,
like
I
it's a
thought we
good
all
gamble.
expected he would. It's just that it wasn't worth sacrificing spots in the other matchups.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Like you have to make a choice, right? What matchups you want to win against? Because you can't win against everything. If you could
Yeah,
win against everything, it'd be a really bad meta.
yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
hmm Yeah, it was definitely interesting. So I got the chance to see Matt and Burner's deck list the day before because they came over to my room and they were playing, they were play testing, and seeing that like that was my first experience of like this is the two decks I know that are being played in Worlds. Obviously, I knew Cactus's deck because he was telling everyone for God knows how long. But like after that, I had the chance to go to dinner with Cactus, Lime, Shawn, and Glenn, and hearing
Mhm.
what they were talking about what they were gonna play at dinner. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, Shawn was like, I have no idea what we're playing. We will decide 10 minutes before the close, and I was like, oh, okay. That was interesting. It makes me wonder actually if he had thought about if he had taken that into account when he decided on the list. But I mean, at the same time, Rye is like his comfort pick, right? So maybe he was just all in on Rye since the beginning.
think he always leaves himself open to possible last minute changes, and they tend to work out for him. So.
True, true. Yeah, he's telling us at nationals he was like, yeah, I didn't know what I was gonna play. I just got on the plane and picked a deck by the time I got there.
I yeah, one of our locals sold him on that one. Like, I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it just be like that, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you just get the goofy decks. Watching some of those matches and like thinking back to nationals, it was really funny to watch. It was Subasa versus Shawn. I saw, I Tsubasa had one card in his deck left, and he won somehow. And I was like, "How did you win that?" The stall deck is interesting. Definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah, I think he was. And when he described it to me, it was mainly just he was trying to run into more people playing Serene Fire Luxem,
Yeah, I guess I
and
mean that makes sense.
yeah, he was prepared with more Gawains and Fractals of Intrusion to snipe those Lightweaver's assaults, and once those are gone, it's smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, you basically just win the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so I mean, let's see. So Worlds, it was interesting. There was a lot going on there. Deck lists were kind of crazy. Matches were both really really high skilled. They were very enjoyable to watch. But there were also a lot of things that like people did that nobody would have expected in terms of like how things work. Like you talked about Quicksilver Grail book, right? That like tech is something that people learned from Worlds. Like I think before Worlds, you could probably count less than 20 people that knew that was like a good tech to run. So I guess going like looking back at like the Swiss rounds, is there anything else that you felt like you learned that was really, really neat?
Uh,
Like
I
something that
can't
you've
say I
carried
learned.
forward?
I can't say I learned a lot from my matches, other than I just need to draw more Pendragons.
True.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't recall seeing a lot of anything that would have surprised me per se.
Mm-hmm.
Like chances are I probably didn't even run into the matches that would be relevant, and like I think a Rye versus Windcrux, and seeing Windcrux pull something out would be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I guess there was one thing. I think there was one moment against Fire Merlin where I went to Dungeon Guide, and my opponent just threw out a Crux Sight. I'm like, why would you throw out a Crux Sight? And then later he tells me, oh yeah, I was looking for Ascension to
Oh,
reveal a win card and then double Ascension you so you can't level up. And I'm like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I would have lost the game right there if you
Yep.
found that. Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty
That's a
good.
good one. It's so hard to pull that off though. You need to be so ahead and you need to have like the perfect hand. That's it's
I
only a funny one
can't
though.
blame him for trying, you know.
Yeah, I mean you might as well,
He's
right?
almost there. Yeah.
Like if I hit, I win, right? Crux
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So I guess after the the day one Swiss for Worlds, you ended up making that team with Limelight and Caven. You talked about how Lime wanted to go with someone who had cards. Obviously, Caven was vending there, so he had everything.
Yeah. Hit
When you
everything.
guys were like setting up for your 3v3s, like did you guys have expectations to go really far with it? Did you kind of think, oh, we're just gonna play this for fun? Like, what was your mindset going into it?
I thought we were just gonna play it for fun. Like we're here, we already have the package. Let's do it. I mean, we're already gonna go in intending to like have a high chance of losing one, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I fortunately I guess Caven had already done a lot of theory crafting with other friends and team, and he was like, "Wind allies, gotta do wind allies." I'm like, okay, sure. And then um, we were pretty sure we were gonna do Fire Aggro Xander, just a matter of like who was gonna play it.
Mm.
And then Lion was like, "Guys, we should run Water Rye." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" They're like, "Yeah, trust me, it's good." I'm like,
Yeah, he
I'm
loves that
not
deck.
I'm not entirely sure, but if you say it's good, I'll believe you on that one. And we ended up registering that. Um, and then I remember we were, uh, fortunately, the Water Ride deck doesn't really take a whole lot from everyone else. Like, mainly the conflicting cards came between the Xander deck and the Wind Allies.
Yeah,
Um,
it's mainly like lurking assailant, right? That's like your biggest
uh,
conflict, and then like material deck cards.
yeah, Lurking Assailant material deck cards. So yeah, Lurking Assailant, we gave those a Gaven. And then we were trying to figure out who would get the smoke bombs. And like, it's probably in the Xander deck. But then we're like, no, we can run Beast Soul Visage. And it's
True,
like, this,
Beasel Visage. That
you know,
does work, yeah.
like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And then you get the smoke bombs. And then Kaven forgets to put the smoke bombs in. So we don't actually register smoke bombs for the
That's
3v3.
so funny.
And then, and then the other thing was the like GCR and baubles. Like
Mhm.
I think I ended up getting the baubles, and then Caven got the GCR. And then the cool tech from Caven was he was gonna run all these like like the often forgot about zero cost regalia that draw cards on
Oh, like Life
highly
Essence
specific
Amulet and
triggers.
stuff.
He ran Life as Amulet and the that one where you take damage and then, like the charge mana plate and then draw a
Oh,
card.
that's funny. Yeah, charge mana plate. I was thinking like Surveillance Stone, but that also works.
Yeah. So he got those and it worked out. Yeah. He was on the one he was the Wind Allies player. He was very sold on that. And then we were gonna put the aggro Xander player in the middle because ideally you would finish faster and then help your teammates out.
Mhm.
I guess in
Did that end up
practice, I
happening?
didn't sometimes, but sometimes not. Um, and there was one time where I was like, I already had the game on lock, but then I was gonna like, okay. I know I'm gonna win this turn, but I'm gonna help my friends out here real quick.
True. That makes sense.
um, but yeah, there was a lot of games though where I ended up low rolling just to see what my opponent was running. Because I guess someone else ran out the dungeon guides or something. I'm like, oh, you don't have dungeon guides. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, then you're like, oh,
uh,
I can kill you for sure.
yeah. So
Because
like
you were
you can
playing the Fire
technically,
Xander, right?
yeah. So I'm on the Fire Xander deck, and technically you can play those matches really fast. But you can get a lot of info just from watching what your teammates are playing against.
Mm-hmm.
That helps you navigate some lines better.
Yeah, I mean, surely that gives you like a ton of information, right? Like if you see a Safeguard Amulet early, or if you see like dungeon guides or anything like that, or even like a Stalwart Shield main, like seeing taunts and interceptors, you're like, oh, well, now they don't have that. This line might be easier to play.
Mhm.
Yeah. So in your team, who had the individual best performance and who had the individual worst performance?
Individual best would be Haven, I think. Um, I think he didn't end like not counting the two matches where he just dropped for not being there,
Mm-hmm.
but um, he only ended up losing I think one the rest of the tournament.
That's pretty good. I mean, Kevin
That's
is
pretty
the
good, right?
Allies player, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
He's
and
like
then
he's like
I ended up
the
doing the
Allies
worst too,
players.
and yeah, I ended up doing the worst.
Was it
Because for
because
whatever
of no
reason,
smoke bombs?
no, because for whatever reason, everyone decided to put their Wind Crux players in the middle. It's
Oh,
like I'm chasing down Veiling Breach for like the fourth time in a row.
that's definitely on the rough side.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they put Windcrux in the
uh,
middle. I would have expected a lot of water players to play in the middle.
right. I would have expected, yeah, not Wind Crux to be in the middle, but uh, most the majority of my matches are either like Wind Crux or Serene Fire Luxem, and both can be Wind Crux is definitely worse. And then Luxem is like, do they get the right chain of cards to
Yeah,
not
do they
die?
fog me 13 times in a
And
row?
then I there's no coming back after that. Um, which yeah, totally happened every time I played Luxem too. So
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, I
Lux
totally
can
got
really be like
carried at
that.
3v3 to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens, right?
Mhm.
But they need a pilot for every kind of deck, so it was interesting to seeing. I think Limelight's deck was definitely the most interesting one. Seeing a Water Eye, I think it's the only Water Eye I've ever seen place
Yeah,
in a
that was
tournament.
it was very surprising, and then like I'm okay, or I don't really expect it to go super far, but we'll see how this goes, right? And then he's like, "Hey, I just mind freeze for 10." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Mind Freeze for 10. You have no
Yeah,
memory anymore.
mind freeze for 10 on erupting, and
Oh,
then
that's brutal.
that erupting does nothing, and then he goes and then kills him.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, this seems pretty good. And then he does it like he faces erupting like 4 or 5 more times and beats all of them.
Oh, that's
I'm like, okay,
crazy.
that was a good pick. That was the pick.
Yeah, I
100%.
mean, even Mind Freeze for like 5 or 6, like even 3 is probably enough to stop the combo from killing you. Like
Mhm.
that's big.
Yeah.
That's a neat tech.
So yeah, pleasantly surprised with that performance. Um, yeah. While I might have done the worst, there were some matches where I had to win mine because like Limelight lost his and then still cinched the match in total.
It's nice. What was the hardest individual match for you? Like, do you remember who you played against or anything like that, or like what exactly happened where you were like, oh my god, we might be losing this one, guys?
Um, I think it's whenever my opponent opens like Wind Crux, and like yeah, or
You're like,
just like
oh no,
we get
please, not like this.
Or like we get the deck list right in day 2, and I get the deck list, and I see middle seat is Windcrux, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm not looking good.
True. You sit there, you're just like, it was a good run, guys. It's a good run.
Yeah, pretty much.
For sure. So, I mean, playing the 3v3s is good. You guys finished second place. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. First of all, you said you went in playing for fun, came out with a Sabrina. That's, I mean, not many people can say they won a Spirit, let alone played in the World Champs, and then said, I'm just going to play this for fun and top it anyways.
Yeah, it's it worked out a lot better than if I had actually like top 8'd World, to be honest.
True.
Yeah, I think it's just the pricing and sentimental trophy card value
Mm-hmm.
that kind of outweighs like anything like 5th through 8 got for
So do
Worlds.
you keep all of your trophies then? So you have your Gwendolyn and Sabrina?
I do, yeah,
Would
and I
you
play with them.
would you ever trade for an Ithne, knowing it would complete the set, or not because you
Uh,
didn't win it?
well, I heard there's a new Fire Spirit over in Chicago, so we'll see about that one. But
Yeah, so the
no, I
lore
don't.
behind the spirits is that each of the spirits are based on the world that they come in. So I
Mhm.
believe Ithne, Gwen, Sabrina, and Morrigan are all from Camelot, and then
Mhm.
Priscilla, Vera, and then the new spirits will be from Azoth. So like that's kind of cool
Okay.
knowing that like every like world has its own like form of spirits.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, no, I don't think I would trade for an IP. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. It means less to like buy one for me than to
Than
win it.
to win it.
Yeah,
Sure. So I guess
yeah.
that means I'll see you at Chicago, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
For sure. So
Um,
looking at all of your experience overall, so there was your ascents in the past, store champs, worlds, the 3v3 at worlds. What are your thoughts after you completed everything? You know, you've reached this culmination of I've competed, I've done well, I've done all these things. What's next for you? What do you feel like you want to achieve now?
um, well, I think the way I put it to someone else is we do it all over again. it's
Yeah, for sure.
it's a journey, not really like winning or whatnot. Like I
Mhm.
had a blast going through all of it, meeting all these cool people. Like I meet people from all around the world, and I'm like on friendly terms with them. Like yeah, I know. Like yeah, I'm good terms with Glenn now and Limelight. Like I only met Limelight in Ontario, and then we only played like one match, and then that was pretty much it. And then yeah, after nationals, we became pretty good friends. Um, and then yeah, just like it's been a journey, and I would do it all over again. So
Yeah, so looking forward to 2025 Nats. Do you think that you would play in another region's nationals?
I play another region nationals. I don't think so.
I don't think
No,
so. Just too much travel,
especially
or
with even with the new system, it's harder to get those, and I'm not really in the mood for just shelling out a bunch of money to get qualifying points for someone else in nationals
true.
too.
Yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
the barrier to entry for this one was so low. Was just like you get the one prize card, right?
Mhm.
I mean that might be. I don't want to like disparage the achievement, but um, like because in my area we have a lot more events than a lot of people, but I did
Mhm.
appreciate just the one like the golden ticket, right? You get one golden ticket, you get in nationals, and I won my first one, and like I had never expected to win that one, and like
Mhm.
oh, but now I get to go to nationals, and it's like I get to trade this in for a cool promo card, and yeah, the rest is history. Like I can do that. Like it's right there now. I can go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
A little harder this time.
Yeah, this high it's definitely a little more confusing on top of being more difficult. You got to compete for a lot more. But it is nice that as the game grows, there's more accessibility to things like invite cards. So like the big one is Ascents, right? We have so many Ascents. You have an Ascent every single month until February.
Yeah, it's a lot. A lot. And
Kind of
definitely
it's
not trying
almost
to go to all
overwhelming.
of them. Yeah, I don't. I would not try personally to go to every single one.
Mhm.
I'll try to go to some of them. International definitely harder, but I'm not. I won't necessarily
Come join us in Canada.
turn down a trip to somewhere international.
I think Singapore is going to be the big one that I think a lot of people want to go to, because on top of it being a really cool international city, it also has Path of Silver. Like, it just inherently attracts more people.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, oh, yeah, okay. I know some people are gonna go now for that.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it's been great to chat with you about like your experiences before Grand Archive, with Grand Archive, with Nationals and Worlds and everything. I just have to say, you are probably one of the most down to earth people I've ever talked to in my life. You just seem so like nice, for lack of a better way to describe it. So I really appreciate you being a part of the community and also getting the chance to chat with you about this and everything. So thank you so much for being on the channel, being here to explain what it's like to play Nationals, what it's like to play Worlds, especially as someone who didn't really play competitive TCGs before. I think a lot of people will see this and be like, wow, maybe I can chase my dreams. Maybe I can just like do something fun with my life.
Yeah, it's I appreciate how easy Grand Archive makes it, how straightforward the path is. And yeah, it's definitely not out of reach. You know, like I was saying, new players yesterday at locals. Yeah, I got beat by one of those guys. So
Getting slimed.
yeah, yeah. And I did get slimed. Actually, got run over by like old school Wind Allies.
Oh, whoa, old school wind. I mean, old school wind allies are kind of good right now.
Yeah,
A power
surprisingly.
cell is kind of spooky. Backup charger go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So last thing we do for all these interviews, if you have any one question you want to ask me, I'll answer it right now. You haven't shared it with me beforehand, so if you have that question, please let me know.
The one question. I guess which prize spirit is most desirable to you?
Well, which prize spirit is most desirable to me? I'll be honest, it's Gwendolyn, 100%. I was introduced to the game during like its early Kickstarter days, so the concept of playing Wind Lorraine always existed to me. Lorraine is my favorite champion, and I think for that reason, and as much as I've played Wind, I love Wind. I love Wind because I love the concept of it, but I also just love Gwendolyn's design. I think the way her hair looks is, the color is just really nice compared to a lot of the other spirits, and I think that they, with the actual card, they portrayed her art as more of her and less of like her element more than the other ones. And for me, that's why I really like Gwendolyn. Which is sad, because I don't think I can ever win one unless they have it at Singapore.
Well, who's to say? I believe there's still, in addition to Taipei, there's at least 8 more going in.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's Singapore, because that was the one that was announced before, and Chicago is going to be Vera. So it's either Singapore or Toronto. So we'll have to see. Maybe I had a chance at that. But yeah, it definitely Gwendolyn. My favorite one for sure. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us here today, Mr. DuckHats, also known as Christian. If you have any shoutouts or anything else you want to leave in the video, any channels, etc., things you want me to link to, I'll leave them in the description below for anyone who's watching the video. But yeah, if you have anything, last things you want to say?
See you in Chicago.
See you in Chicago. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was me interviewing Mr. DuckHats, also known as Christian, winner of the U.S. Nationals. And we'll see you guys in Chicago.